This is the Terra Cotta Army, 8,000 warriors buried over 2,000 years ago. One of the greatest wonders of the world. What we've discovered so far through these 3D models is that, no. Two ears are demonstrably the same. These warriors seem to be very individual in the same way as a typical human population. For over 2,200 years, they stood in silence. It's a vast pottery army which is slowly being unearthed from the tomb, where it's lain for more than 2,000 years. 8,000 clay soldiers, each face different, each story unknown. Archaeologists discover more than 8,000 of these terracotta statues. It becomes clear to the research team that these statues were carved and then buried as an army to protect the emperor in his afterlife. Before we get to that, let us go back to the very beginning, the doorway to a buried empire. 8,000 dead men identified with accuracy. At a lab in Beijing, researcher Yun Shan stared at a question archaeologists had argued over for 50 years. The terracotta army looked detailed, but detail alone does not prove individuality. If every warrior truly carried a real face, not an artist's variation, then the proof had to live deeper than surface style. It had to sit in bone, structure, proportions, and geometry that survived damage, time, and collapse. The only tool capable of testing that idea at scale was artificial intelligence. The condition of the statues made the task brutal. Most had spent more than 2,000 years underground, crushed by soil pressure, soaked by water, cracked by temperature shifts, and broken during ancient fires and later excavations. Human eyes could catalog helmets, armor, plates, and expressions, but subtle facial structure gets lost when noses chip and jaws fracture. Brushes and rulers had reached their limit. To move forward, the faces had to be read. The way machines read patterns. Shen's team built a deep learning model designed for damaged faces. They adapted, squeezed, and rebuilt its feature extraction layers so the system could focus on facial geometry rather than surface flaws. Large convolution kernels were replaced with smaller stacked kernels to capture fine detail. Fire modules compressed and expanded data without losing shape. Information and adjusted loss function helped the system stay stable while learning from incomplete faces. In plain terms, they taught a machine to ignore cracks and erosion and look for the bones beneath the clay. The input came from high-resolution, three-dimensional point cloud scans. Each scan mapped thousands of spatial points across a face, recording depth, angle, and distance. 295 warriors were fed into the system, enough to test whether the faces repeated or diverged. The machine did not learn faces as people do. It learned ratios, distances, and spatial relationships that stay consistent even when parts are missing. When the results came back in 2024, the numbers stunned the field. The system identified and separated individual faces with 95.6% accuracy. These were not near matches or rough groupings. The model could reliably tell one warrior from another using structure alone. That level of precision erased the idea of mass production. The patterns went further. Facial variation followed population. Morphology seen in Qin dynasty skeletal data. Cheekbones, jaw width, eye socket, depth, and nasal angles aligned with real human diversity, not workshop style. Independent work published in Heritage Science compared the warriors to modern Chinese ethnic groups using similar point cloud methods and found the variation matched living populations, not artistic exaggeration. Northern and southern features appeared in clear clusters. That distribution mirrored Qin's military practice. After unifying China in 221 BCE, Qin Shi Huang pulled soldiers from every conquered region. The army beneath the earth reflected that system. Rank and role also showed up in the data. These varies are all life-size like real soldiers. Also, they have different facial features. You can tell from their hairstyle. They're we call headgears, and they can tell their different ranks. Certain facial structures clustered with armor types and positioning, suggesting organized units rather than random placement. The clay army was not symbolic protection. It was a frozen order of battle. This meant thousands of artisans worked from real men shaping faces with enough accuracy that modern machine learning could still recognize them. It pointed to a documentation process, likely tied to workshops, registers, and quality control under imperial command. Faces were not invented. They were recorded, and once artificial. Intelligence proved it could read. Identity from clay researchers began asking a harder question. If machines could see people rank and structure, hidden for centuries, what else might be? Encoded beneath the soil waiting for the next scan to reveal. I decodes a 2,000-year-old battle plan. January 2025 changed how the Terra Cotta Army is understood. Researchers released the ago.One dataset, a large artificial intelligence study that examined 1,800 warriors from PIT-1 and logged 10 core attributes. We want to compare the shapes of different terracotta warrior heads, and to do so we need a version, which is not the real terracotta warrior, but a 3D model, something that we can analyze statistically, including armor types, headgear, hairstyles, weapons, hand positions, posture, rank markings, regional, workshop traits, unit grouping, and battlefield placement. For 50 years, archaeologists described the army as varied and impressive. The machine saw structure, order, and intent, pattern, recognition, exposed connections no human eye had pieced together. Armor styles clustered into repeatable groups, weapon pairings predicted where a soldier stood and what role he played. Hairstyles followed rank and duty rather than taste, separating command roles from frontline troops and specialists. What once looked like artistic freedom resolved into military logic once the data was processed at scale. Computer vision analysis across the three main pits pulled the entire tactical layout into focus. Pit 1 stretches roughly 230 meters long and 62 meters wide, holding more than 6,000 warriors arranged in 11 long corridors. The artificial intelligence mapped the formation clearly. Infantry stood forward in dense columns. Archers guarded the flanks. Armored officers occupied protected central positions. The arrangement matched Qin dynasty battle formations recorded during the Waring States period from 475 to 221, before the Common Era. This was not decoration. It was a battlefield frozen in place. Pit 2 revealed even deeper planning. First, uncovered in 1976 and opened fully in 1994. The 6,300-meter pit holds about 1,300 figures and horses. Artificial intelligence separated them into 4 operational units. One section formed a defensive square built around 332 standing archers, reinforced by 160 kneeling crossbowmen. Another section contained 64 chariot teams laid out in 8 rows each, pulled by 4 horses. Cavalry units followed with mounted warriors ready for rapid movement, supported by mixed infantry designed for flexible attack. Every grouping matched real Qin combat doctrine. Even small details followed. Rules. Hand positions showed which weapons soldiers once held, even when bronze blades and triggers were stolen long ago. Belt fittings and armor decorations repeated within units, pointing to standardized equipment. Facial hair, headgear, and helmet styles followed rank levels described in Qin military texts rather than artistic choice. Pit 3, though much smaller, at about 520 meters, revealed the command structure. The artificial intelligence flagged it as headquarters. 68 senior officers stood there, marked by heavier armor and finer sculpting. A central command chariot sat in position with attendants arranged as messengers and aides. Fewer than 10 top-ranking officers have been identified across the entire site, making each discovery critical. The system learned to predict officer locations by reading armor patterns and spacing, guiding later excavation work. When researchers combined data from all 3 pits, the picture widened. The army formed a single defensive line, guarding the emperor's tomb from the east, the direction of former rival states. Across nearly 20,000 square meters, infantry, cavalry chariots, archers, and command units functioned as one integrated military installation. Physical evidence backed the findings. More than 40,000 bronze weapons have been recovered, including swords, spearheads, crossbow triggers, battle axes, and scimitars. Many remain sharp. Crossbow triggers from different pits share identical mechanical measurements, pointing to centralized production. The artificial intelligence identified this standardization before metallurgical tests confirmed it. Did they find things like this here 30 feet below the surface? You gotta wonder what else lies beyond. The army was not symbolic and not decorative. It was a full military system recreated with discipline and precision. And once that became clear, a harder question emerged. One, no dataset could ignore. If death demanded a perfect copy of the army that unified China, what fear was this emperor preparing for? Beyond the grave, the emperor's algorithm for immortality. The artificial intelligence results forced researchers to admit something uncomfortable. For decades, the main question had been wrong. It was never about whether ancient artisans could sculpt faces with care. The real question was why anyone would choose to sculpt 8,000 different faces at all. Once the scans lined up armor, posture, weapons, and identity, they pointed straight back to the man who ordered it all. Qin Shi Huang, a ruler who treated power like a system that could be measured, copied, and controlled. He was born Yingzhang and took the Qin throne in 246 BCE. At just 13, by 221 BCE, he had crushed 6 rival states, Chu, Qi, Yanhan, Zhao, and Wei, ending more than 2 centuries of constant war. According to Sima Qian, in records of the grand historian, Qin armies moved with strict discipline under generals like Wang Jian and Meng Jian, advancing fast, holding ground tightly, and striking with planned precision. Battles were not emotional clashes, they were calculations. After unification, the same thinking reshaped the land. Qin Shi Huang wiped out regional currencies and replaced them with a single coin system. He forced standard weights and measures so builders, farmers, and traders all worked from the same scale. He ordered one writing system across the empire, even though people spoke different tongues, creating shared administration over millions of lives. Roads were cut through mountains, canals linked distant regions, and defensive walls followed measured lines across the north. Nothing was left to chance. This approach came from legalism, the ruling philosophy of Qin. Laws were strict, punishments predictable, and order came from uniform rules applied everywhere. If currency could be standardized, and writing could be standardized, then people could be standardized too. In that worldview, complexity was solved by control at scale. Death was not an exception. Qin beliefs held that the afterlife mirrored the living world, with threats waiting on the other side. Qin Shi Huang feared that the spirits of defeated kings would seek revenge. He wanted protection that worked the same way his real army worked. Symbols were not enough. Systems were trusted. Construction on his tomb began when he was 13 and continued for 38 years. Ancient records speak of nearly 700,000 workers. The mausoleum complex covers 98 kilometers with a central burial chamber beneath a pyramid-shaped mound rising 76 meters high. The Terra Cotta Army sits about 112 kilometers east of that tomb, placed exactly where real enemies once stood. Infantry archers, cavalry chariots, and commanders were arranged as a working defense line. Artificial intelligence made the logic clear. Faces were not decoration. They were records. Armor differences reflected real unit standards. Weapons followed known Qin manufacturing rules. Everything matched the way the Qin military actually functioned in life. The underground complex was not art. It was a military model built to operate forever. When farmers uncovered the first warrior in 1974, they did not find a sculpture. They found proof. 8,000 faces showed that Qin Shi Huang cataloged his soldiers as carefully as he cataloged land roads and laws. Death was treated as another frontier to secure. Yet, one problem remains. If artisans could capture real faces, if metal workers could produce tens of thousands of identical weapons, and if engineers could design hidden traps and flowing mercury rivers, then why did that knowledge vanish so completely? that it took 2,200 years and artificial intelligence to see what they had already solved. The human cost of keeping secrets. The artificial intelligence confirmed something chilling. 8,000 warriors, each sculpted with forensic precision. But no algorithm could tell us who the people were behind the clay, or why their knowledge vanished so completely that it took more than 2,200 years and advanced machines to rediscover what they built. Archaeological evidence hints at the answer. Craftsmen carved their names into the figures. A king government system to track work quality. Over 87 signatures have been documented, along with workshop locations across the empire. Names like Gong Chun and Duo appear on multiple warriors, showing that master sculptor supervised teams in different regions. This wasn't a single studio. It was an industrial scale operation coordinating thousands of skilled workers, all feeding into the emperor's underground empire. The scale defies imagination. Nearly 700,000 laborers worked for 38 years on the mausoleum. But making 8,000 individualized soldiers required highly trained sculptors who could capture real facial features, while producing 40,000 bronze weapons demanded expert metallurgists. Engineers built internal tomb structures, mercury river systems, and mechanical crossbow traps. These artisans held knowledge that made them dangerous. They knew entrances' treasure locations, and how the tomb's defenses operated. In a regime obsessed with control, that knowledge was a threat. Simon's Shiji records a grim solution. Once the emperor was entombed, gates trapped the workers inside. Centuries of debate questioned whether thousands were really sealed alive, but human remains found around the complex suggest it was real. Skeletons show sudden death, no burial rites, and positions hinting at attempts to escape. The emperor applied his same systematic logic one final time. If the artisans could not leave, they could not reveal secrets, and the tomb would remain hidden. Brutal, precise, almost flawless. Almost because Qin Shi Huang did not control time. The dynasty collapsed just 4 years after he died in 210 BCE. Han rulers had no interest in preserving detailed knowledge of the tomb, and the skilled laborers' memory died with them. Maps, records, and landmarks eroded, leaving legends in place of facts. By the time Simeon wrote the Sherry around 100 BCE, he relied on fragments, oral stories, and approximations. When Yang Jifa uncovered the first warrior in 1974, it was a satellite pit, not the main tomb. These installations, positioned 1 and 2 kilometers east of the emperor's burial mound, were meant to be discovered eventually. Guardians visible to spirits, while the treasures, palaces, and mercury rivers remained hidden. Grave robbers stole some items, but the main tomb survived untouched for more than 2 millennia. Its artisans silenced and knowledge erased. Artificial intelligence changed the game. It does not need human memory. It reads clay, sees patterns, reconstructs logic, and maps structures through the solid earth. The signatures left by craftsmen became data points, proving authenticity and workflow. The system Qin Shi Huang built to erase knowledge was perfect against humans, but powerless against machines. Every face, every weapon, every formation became evidence. The emperor's artisans died to protect secrets, and now AI reveals them. But if this security held for more than 2,000 years, what happened in December 2024, when pattern recognition spotted something missed for 30 years? And what does that say about how much of the tomb is still hidden beneath the earth? The commander in the prince's impossible tomb. December 18th, 2024. Archaeologists in Pit 2 were brushing soil from a figure they thought was just another infantry soldier. A routine step after 30 years of work since the pit opened in 1994. But when the emerging figure was run through the AI's TWWW-1087 dataset, which had been tracking armor types, weapon groupings, and rank markers, alarms went off immediately. Every detail flagged by the machine, from ornamental armor patterns to the complex headdress. The hand position with fingers folded at the abdomen and the commanding stance matched commander-level specifications. Excavation leader Zhu Hong confirmed what the AI had predicted. Based on its location, we believe this figure was likely the highest-ranking military commander of this unit. This wasn't just a rare find. Only 10 senior officer figurines had been discovered among more than 2,000 warriors. And this was the first commander-level figure in Pit 2 since formal excavations began decades ago. Humans had walked past this location countless times. The AI recognized it in seconds, processing patterns across 1,800 warriors in ways human eyes could not. The commander was accompanied by 3 terracotta horses, 2 chariots, and 5 warriors in matching armor. Traces of red, green, and purple pigment survived, protected by stable soil and humidity. Restoration in a controlled lab used 3-dimensional scanning, moisture regulation, and pigment preservation to prevent color loss techniques unavailable in earlier excavations. This discovery came during the 50th anniversary year of the initial find in 1974, marking 5 decades since a farmer first struck clay while digging for water. Even after 50 years, the Terra Cotta Army still revealed new insights into Qin's military organization. The AI had taught researchers to spot high V-value targets, but the breakthrough came when similar analytical thinking was applied to tombs that had been ignored for centuries. 9 large burial chambers had been mapped using ground-penetrating radar. Most had been looted, supporting historical accounts of Shang Yu's 206 BCE invasion. But one tomb remained untouched for 13 years, left alone, until heavy rains in 2024 threatened structural collapse. Excavation leader Zhang Wenxia's team carefully removed 16 meters of soil, expecting another empty chamber. What emerged defied expectations. A 16-ton wooden coffin perfectly sealed, a 90-meter-long burial chamber filled with armor weapons, over 6,000 bronze coins, jade artifacts, gold and silver camels, and cooking utensils, everything a noble would need for the afterlife. The tomb's depth and precision likely kept grave robbers away. Its proximity to Qin Shi Huang's central burial mound suggested immense importance. Historical records pointed to Prince Gao, the youngest son of Qin Shi Huang, executed after opposing his brother Hu Hai, but was granted burial near the emperor. If this tomb truly belonged to Prince Gao, it would be the first archaeological confirmation of a specific Shi account from the Qin dynasty. The AI's pattern recognition had trained researchers to question assumptions, showing what machines see that humans miss. Spotting patterns among warriors led to the bold decision to excavate a tomb that should have been empty. But the bigger question remains: if this untouched tomb survived 2,000 years, and if Shai's account proves accurate, then could the other incredible claims, the mercury rivers and automated crossbow traps in the emperor's sealed chamber, also be true, waiting silently under the earth? Lead scan confirms the impossible. June 2020. A team of physicists led by Suna Swanberg from Lund University in Sweden, working with Chinese scientists Guang, Yujiaowei Xingjiang, and others, set up a differential absorption LAR system at Qin Shi Huang's burial mound. LiDAR light detection and ranging uses laser pulses like radar uses radio waves. This system was tuned to detect atomic mercury vapor at the 254 nanometer resonance line, capable of measuring concentrations out to 1 kilometer, picking up levels almost as low as the Atlantic Ocean's natural background. 3 positions were set around the 76-meter-high pyramid-shaped mound, scanning from multiple angles to create a full atmospheric profile. While the technology had already detected mercury emissions from geothermal sites in Italy and mining operations worldwide, using it to test ancient historical accounts was unprecedented. Sima Qian's Shiri, written around 100 BCE, described rivers of flowing mercury inside the tomb, recreating the Yangtze Yellow River and the Great Sea with mechanical systems moving the liquid. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as poetic exaggeration. Surely no one could fill a tomb chamber with liquid mercury. The LAR results stunned everyone. Atmospheric mercury concentrations reached 27 nano per cubic meter directly above the mound, compared to 5 to 10 nano per cubic meter in the surrounding Cheyenne area. The readings were 2 to 5 times higher than normal and matched locations where soil samples had already detected mercury. The research published in scientific reports estimated a mercury outflux of roughly 510 to the 8th kilograms per second, meaning roughly 1 ton had escaped over 2,000 years. This implied the tomb originally contained perhaps 100 tons of mercury, just as the texts claimed. The implications were serious. Mercury vapor is neurotoxic, damaging the nervous system over time. While current surface emissions are too low to threaten the 15 million yearly visitors to the Terra Cotta Warriors Museum, the long-term environmental risk is real. Swanberg compared this scenario to modern nuclear waste storage in Sweden, Finland, and the United States, pointing out that if a Bronze Age tomb can leak after millennia, what hope is there for containment of radioactive materials for hundreds of thousands of years? For archaeologists, the discovery raised a deeper question. If the she was accurate about mercury rivers, what about its other claims? The ceiling representing the cosmos with pearls and gemstones, automated crossbows defending the tomb palaces filled with rare treasures and mechanical and artistic marvels that Prince Gao's recently discovered tomb already hinted could be real. Ground-penetrating radar and magnetic surveys since the 1980s revealed massive underground structures. A 2010 excavation found 18 courtyard-style buildings around a central chamber. Remote sensing suggests the burial chamber itself may contain a bronze-walled inner sanctum, keeping mercury contained except where corrosion or shifts have created leaks. Opening the tomb is impossible without destroying what survives. Experience with painted terracotta warriors proved exposure to air obliterates millennia-old pigments almost instantly. Inside the emperor's tomb, mercury vapor would be lethal. Wooden supports could collapse, and fragile artifacts would decay the moment oxygen reached them. AI models can map, predict, and simulate everything, but direct access remains too dangerous. The Emperor waits sealed behind calculations we can make, but cannot fully act on. Thus, if historical texts about mercury rivers were accurate, and Prince Gao's tomb confirms Shiji's accounts, and AI already sees patterns humans cannot, then the question becomes, what will the next generation of artificial intelligence reveal when it finally peers inside the pyramid without breaking the seal? Technology that will crack the final secret. The discoveries of 2024 and 2025 mark a pivotal moment in the application of artificial intelligence to one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, the sealed mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang near Cheyenne, China. In 2024, researchers applied deep learning to analyze terracotta warrior faces using a modified Squeeze-It model. This approach achieved facial recognition accuracy of 95% 6%, distinguishing subtle variations in facial structure that human eyes could not reliably detect. These findings confirmed that each warrior was uniquely modeled, not just a generic copy. By 2025, AI analysis extended to clustering attributes like armor rank posture and unit formations, producing predictive models that revealed hierarchical organization within the army. Despite these breakthroughs, the mausoleum itself presents far greater challenges. The tomb has remained untouched for over 2,000 years, in part due to high mercury concentrations noted in classical sources like Shi, structural instability, and the sheer scale of potential damage from excavation. Traditional geoisical methods, ground-penetrating radar magnetometry, and electromagnetic surveys have been used at the site to map subsurface structures without disturbing them. But these methods are limited in resolution and cannot identify fine details. Emerging technologies promise far deeper insight. Quantum-enhanced ground-penetrating radar is under development at institutions including MIT and the Chinese Academy of Sciences. These systems use quantum entanglement to enhance detection sensitivity, potentially mapping individual objects beneath meters of soil with millimeter-level precision. Unlike conventional radar, or LAR, quantum radar, could reveal detailed dimensions, surface textures, and decorative patterns of artifacts without any physical disturbance. Machine learning can also simulate artifact preservation. Organic materials like silk, wood, and leather survive in anaerobic tomb conditions, but deteriorate instantly upon oxygen exposure. AI trained on decay patterns and spectral data could virtually reconstruct artifacts' original appearance, combining hyperspectral imaging and high-resolution scans to produce three-dimensional, photorealistic virtual reconstructions, effectively performing a non-invasive excavation. Robotic systems designed for hazardous conditions form another critical frontier. Mercury vapor concentrations, toxic gases, confined spaces, and fragile tomb architecture make human entry unsafe. AI-guided robots could navigate minimal access points, map chambers, and manipulate artifacts using micro-tools while maintaining controlled atmospheres. These systems would autonomously manage thousands of real-time decisions on artifact handling, environmental monitoring, and stabilization. Preservation remains a major concern. Terracotta warriors exposed in the 1970s lost pigments immediately due to air contact, highlighting the vulnerability of ancient materials. I could integrate predictive conservation models with environmental controls, adjusting temperature, humidity, oxygen levels, and particulate matter with parts per million precision, calculating optimal sequences for safe extraction. Beyond mapping and preservation, AI could detect patterns that humans cannot. Qin Wang standardized currency weights writing and infrastructure during his reign. His tomb likely reflects similar systemic logic. Elevated mercury levels detected via differential absorption. LIDAR support historical accounts of mercury rivers within the mausoleum. These discoveries suggest that the emperor's burial site was not ceremonial decoration, but a highly ordered functional system reflecting military and administrative precision. Ultimately, the question extends beyond what lies within the tomb to why it was organized this way. Each AI advancement reframes the Terra Cotta Army as a meticulous record of military hierarchy rather than artistic expression. When non-invasive technologies, AI reconstruction, and robotic access eventually allow researchers to investigate the sealed mausoleum, the aim will be to understand why Qin Shi Huang arranged his subterranean empire as he did, testing whether his systematic approach to life extended beyond death. Solving this will require integrating archaeology, computational modeling, quantum sensing, and robotics. The Emperor's final equation still awaiting discovery. Thanks for watching.